Hello, my name is Emma McDowell, and I am in my final year as a postgraduate researcher at the University of Leeds. Prior to that, I worked in a number of roles in the arts and cultural sector, such as arts marketing, programming, producing, and market research. But more recently, I've been working with the team at the Centre for Cultural Value, based at the University of Leeds, and it's in that capacity that I'm talking to you today. So, we did some research recently in order to understand current attitudes in the arts, culture, and heritage sector or sectors around sort of evaluation and research practices. And we wanted to kind of explore how practitioners and organisations and researchers were currently capturing and demonstrating cultural value across the sector. And so we developed and distributed an online survey, and the findings helped to shed some light on how people in the sector both commission and use research to inform their work. And first and foremost, I suppose the main headline was that there's a real strong demand for strategic partnerships between academics and researchers and the sector. On the whole, we found that respondents were much more likely to have worked with independent researchers or such as consultants as their research and evaluation partners, more so than higher education institutions, which suggests that this is actually a real area for development. Room for research centres such as the Centre for Cultural Value and researchers themselves to make a real impact through activities and partnerships, linking academic research expertise with sector practice. And while those respondents who had worked with academic researchers in the past reported really valuable partnerships that had come out and a positive experience from that research, some of the potential value was lost by some respondents around sort of misaligned priorities, a lack of a shared research agenda, a sort of misunderstanding of one another's worlds, and consequently a lack of sort of actionable insight for organisations. So while there's clearly a desire within the sector to work with academics, there are obviously challenges to that, and I think researchers can work with organisations on a more sort of longitudinal basis and more embedded in their practice from the outset. That was one of the key kind of sort of things that practitioners particularly were calling for. Another key finding from the survey was that arts organisations think about research and evaluation and how it can inform their practice in a myriad of different ways. And while there was clearly a need for organisations to fulfil particular criteria according to their funders, and they had to take into account their funders' priorities in terms of their evaluation and research, there was also a real sort of kind of call for research that helped them do their jobs and kind of informs their practice, and also for research to be an opportunity for learning and to deepen their understanding of their practice. So having to juggle the different priorities of the different stakeholders of arts and cultural organisations is definitely a key sort of challenge to the sector. And finally, we asked respondents to tell us how they wanted to engage with published or existing research, so research that might already have been conducted. And there were two kind of key strands in responses, really. There was a call for accessibility. So quite simply, one of the practitioners who responded to the survey said, access to charts and graphs and stats and data they can easily drop into reports rather than having to screen grab them. Like something as simple as that can make it easier for arts organisations to sort of share research and help that inform their practice. And relevance as well around, again, going back to making sure that priorities are aligned from the outset's ideal, but if research is sort of relevant to particular areas of practice, and making sure they're quick to access, making sure they're available on a range of different platforms, making sure they're sort of digested in a way that's accessible and useful, and not kind of long-winded. And so the Centre for Cultural Value, it's probably worth saying that they've in fact just launched a resources centre this week, I think. It's worth checking out. You can also join the centre's mailing list as well to hear about future events and potentially research opportunities. And yeah, please do read the full report on the sector's evaluation practices. I'll send through the link, and good luck, and thanks very much for having me.